There was once a tightrope walker who did incredible feats. All over Paris, he would walk across a tightrope at tremendously high heights. Then he would walk back again, blindfolded, pushing a wheelbarrow. Well, a Canadian promoter read about this incredible feat, and he sent a message to tightrope walkers saying, "Tightrope, I don't believe you can do it, but I'm willing to make you an offer. For a very substantial sum of money, plus all your transportation fees, I would like to challenge you to do your act over Niagara Falls." Now, Tightrope replied, "Sir, although I have never seen Niagara Falls, I would love to come." Well, after a lot of preparation and promotion, the day finally arrives. Great crowds gather to see this spectacular event. Tightrope is ready to begin on the Canadian side and across to the American side and then back again. Everyone is so excited. Drums roll, and he begins to walk across a tightrope over Niagara Falls. He easily makes it across. The crowds go wild. He finds the promoter and says, "Well, Mr. Promoter, now do you believe I can do it?" "Well, of course I do. I saw you do it." No, says Tightrope. "Do you really believe I can do it?" "Well, of course I do. You just did it." No, says Tightrope. "Do you believe I can do it?" "Yes," said Mr. Promoter. "I believe you can do it." "Good," said Tightrope. "Then jump into the wheelbarrow." What do we believe? What difference does it make? We are all Christians. We have just celebrated Easter, the miraculous resurrection of Jesus the Christ. We read the stories of Jesus appearing to his followers and walking with his friends and even making breakfast for his disciples on the beach after his resurrection. We sing songs of victory over death. But do you truly believe? Do you believe that Jesus rose from the dead? It's a simple yet profound question, and it is a foundation of our faith. Do we believe? From the very first Easter morning, people have been asking the same question. How can a man live and die and live again? Is it really possible? Does Jesus really walk among us? Can we truly believe? Well, if you've ever had doubts, then you're not alone. I think we all have doubts from time to time. We question life. We challenge God. We wonder about life after this life. Unfortunately, we have been taught that seeing is believing. So we easily identify with Thomas this morning. We all know him, unfortunately, as Doubting Thomas. In our reading, all the disciples except Thomas are gathered behind locked doors, fearing for their own lives. We really can't blame them. They've experienced the terrible death of their friend, their leader, their Lord. They don't know what's happening or what will happen next. Even though some have reported seeing him alive, they are still afraid and confused and uncertain. They don't know what to believe. Suddenly, Jesus stood among them. "Don't be afraid. I am here," he assures them. "I am alive. You can believe." He shows them his hands and his side, so there is no mistake. It is Jesus who is crucified. Then the risen Christ calms them with words of peace. "Peace, peace be with you." He breathes on them and gives them the power to leave that locked room and go out into the world. They are totally amazed and overcome with joy. They believe. But poor Thomas. Thomas was not there that evening. Thomas missed the opportunity to see the risen Lord. Where was he? Well, some have suggested that he was so disillusioned he just couldn't face the others. Some think he was so heartbroken he wanted to be all alone, to mourn by himself. Some even point out that perhaps he was the brave one, the one who left the room to go and get necessary supplies. We don't know. but we do know that he wasn't there to share in this miracle. But when he returns, he talks with the other disciples, and he finds that the fact that Jesus had appeared to them very hard to believe. They tell him, "You can believe, he was here, he was alive." But Thomas questions this unbelievable news. He doubts that Jesus stood among them. He doubts that Jesus spoke to them. He thinks that their fear and their longing have caused them to imagine things that are not possible. He didn't see. How can he believe? Oh, we all relate to doubting Thomas. Yes, we've all been there and probably will be there again. A man was walking his dog along the beach when they passed another walker. Eager to impress the stranger, the man picked up a piece of driftwood and he tossed it into the surf. His dog ran out on top of the water, picked up the stick, and returned to the master without getting wet. The stranger watched in disbelief. The dog's owner asked, "Well, did you notice anything unusual?" The stranger replied, "Sure, your dog can't swim, can he?" You see, like Thomas, some of us have a hard time accepting the improbable. Even though Thomas had been a faithful follower, even though he had traveled with Jesus and heard all of his teachings, even though he had witnessed many of his miracles, he just can't believe. Unless I see in his hand the print of the nails and place my hand in his side, I will not believe. How can we blame him? We have doubting Thomases all around us. On every side, there are those afraid to believe. Even many who came to church last Sunday, Easter morning, may be doubting. Maybe even some of you here today. There are times, even when the most faithful have questions. Is that your experience? Well, do not fear. Doubt is part of faith. Without questions and doubts, we would never arrive at a mature faith. Paul Tillich defines faith as the ultimate concern. The ultimate concern. You see, if that's true, the opposite of faith is not doubt, but apathy. One has to care enough to think it through, to consider its importance, to struggle with its meaning. If we don't have any doubts, perhaps we are not taking our faith seriously. Thomas was very serious. He had believed in Jesus with his whole heart and mind and soul. He had given his life to Jesus, and he was not going to be tricked or fooled again or hurt. He was not going to take one more step unless he was sure. I can imagine that those disciples spent the whole week trying to convince Thomas. But it wasn't until Jesus appeared again and spoke directly to Thomas that he believed. It is reassuring to me that Jesus wasn't angry or disappointed in Thomas. No, he simply gives him what he needs to believe. Put your finger here, see my hands, touch me, and believe. Thomas responds with, "My Lord and my God." Thomas believed all right. He jumped right into that wheelbarrow. He declares Jesus God's Son and the Lord of his life forever. Doubting Thomas becomes believing Thomas. God took the prime example of doubt and turned him into the faithful example of belief. And you know, Thomas took his belief all the way to India, where a Christian church still bears his name. So what about us? Do we believe? Suddenly, Jesus is no longer speaking to Thomas, but to us. He is like the actor who suddenly turns and directs his words toward the audience. Jesus turns and speaks to us. Blessed are those who have not seen, yet believe. Blessed are those who have not seen, yet believe. Do we believe? St. Augustine once said, "Faith is to believe what we do not see, and the reward of this faith is to see what we believe." Oh, I suppose it would be much easier if Jesus appeared here in front of us this morning. and showed us his hands and his side. Although I kind of suspect that some of us would think it was just one of David Copperfield's or Chris Angel's tricks of illusions. And yet, don't we believe in many things we cannot see? I know I do. As a matter of fact, those unseen things are more real than the things we see. What's that old adage? Believe only half of what you see and nothing of what you hear? It's true. Our vision is so limited. We can only see so far. The world looks flat, but we know it's not. The sky seems blue, but it's only an optical illusion. The little seed looks so dead, but it springs to life. As a matter of fact, we cannot see any of the truly important things in life. Things like love, faith, trust, dignity, hope, confidence. We cannot see them, but we know that they exist and that they are very real. They make life worthwhile. Some even call them the 6 necessities of life: love, faith, trust, dignity, hope, confidence. So we continue to question, especially in our difficult times or in our lonely times, but we also believe. Yes, we believe. I think we come together as a community of faith, especially this Easter season, because we do believe. Deep in our hearts, we believe that God sent Jesus to live and die and live again for us. We do believe that Jesus is alive. And when we open our hearts to truly believe, we receive such blessings, such blessings. We find hope and peace and joy. Isn't it in those moments of believing, those moments when we feel Jesus right beside us, those moments when we know that God is with us? Isn't it in those special moments when we are filled with such hope and such peace and such joy? When we do believe, then we know what is truly important: family, friends, sharing our blessings. The early church believed and found such unity in sharing their faith and their lives. How blessed are those who believe. How blessed are we when we believe. So today we are assured that God loves us, that Christ walks with us, that God's Spirit gives us the power to live in faith, to step out in faith. Yes, faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. We believe where we cannot see. We believe God's goodness and love go far beyond our sight. Our evidence is not in what we can see or hear or put our finger on, no, but something in the higher stratosphere of the Spirit, where faith goes beyond reason to believe where we cannot see. Emily Dickinson wrote, "This world is not conclusion. A sequel stands beyond, invisible as music, but positive as sound." Yes, today, Jesus comes and stands among us. Jesus reaches out to reassure us. Jesus brings us peace. Jesus gives us whatever we need to believe and fills our hearts with hope. Do we believe? What difference does it make? It makes all the difference in the world. Like Thomas, we may say, "If only I could see, I would believe." But Jesus answers, "If only you believe, you will see the glory of God." So with Paul, let us say, "Yes, Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief." God is here, and God gives us the power. So let's believe. Let's just jump into that wheelbarrow. Let's put our trust in Jesus and find all the blessings and excitement and joy of being faithful followers. It's so true, so true. Blessed are those who believe. Amen.